Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Saltdogs Live. I am radio broadcaster Michael Dixon, joined by a very special guest today, one Brett Jodie, who, of course, is the new manager for the Lincoln Saltdogs in 2021 and beyond. Brett, how are you?
Doing well, Michael. How about yourself?
I'm doing really well. You can hear me and everything all right, right?
Perfect, perfect.
All right, well, I guess we'll just go ahead and start from the beginning, Brett. I mean, out of nowhere, just a couple of weeks ago, you felt like you might have to take a year off of baseball, and next thing you know, you're coming to the American Association, and you're now the ninth manager of the Lincoln Salt Dogs. How've the last couple of weeks been for you?
Well, I'll tell you, it seems like par for the course of what the world's going through the past couple of years, right? So it's just another little feather in the cap, I guess, of something that's kind of weird going on. But yeah, the last 2 weeks have been crazy. It's been a lot of fun. I did have some opportunities to stay in baseball, but they just weren't great opportunities for me where I am in this stage of my career with what happened in Somerset and stuff like that. So I was available and everything. And, this came available, and Lincoln's a place that I've always had great respect for. I'm not just saying that because I'm here. It's a place that I was interested in. You know, I knew about it from years past. I've been in the Atlantic League for years, but I always had conversations and dealings with different teams in the American Association or Frontier League or different independent leagues. And Lincoln is one that I've always heard good things about. And that's tough to keep that reputation, to be untainted for all those years, for you go on your 20th season, and to have that kind of reputation and all good feedback and all great people with the organization and things like that. That's just huge. You know, that's hard to find in this game. It's hard to find in life, really. So it was something that I never thought about until it did become available. And then the more I'm digging, then they're digging on me too. And we're getting the process done pretty quickly. And it was a lot of fun. You know, it really was. It was a great process. I got to meet some wonderful people within the organization. The ownership is unbelievable. Charlie obviously is great, and I had most of my dealings have been with him. But yeah, it seemed like just a perfect fit. And I didn't think it was going to come up this late. It's kind of weird that a manager's job would come open this late, but it did for whatever reason. And I'm here now, and I'm excited about it.
You had mentioned you were basically prepared to take a year off because it was so weird last year. And Somerset, the only reason why you were looking for a job to begin with was because the team you had been with for 7 years, out of nowhere, became the AA affiliate of the New York Yankees, right? So obviously, when the major league club gets involved, everything changes for everybody. But the jobs that you might have been able to take versus the one that you took here, was this pretty much a no-brainer for you, even though you'd kind of decided you were comfortable with the idea of taking 2021 off?
Yeah, I think the excitement of the American Association, it's a league, again, where I think it's neck and neck with the Atlantic League. I'm not going to sit here and, argue about which one's better or worse. I think they're different, right? They're different, but they're both strong in what they're trying to be strong in, their avenue, their lane and all that. So I enjoy the aspect of going to the Midwest, learning some of the new rules that are associated with putting a roster together. Working with maybe a little bit younger group, although I've had great groups in Somerset. There's nothing negative about those groups. It's just something a little different. At this stage of my career, you mentioned, I think, 7 years. I've been with actually Somerset for 17 years as a player, a pitching coach, a director of player procurement, manager. I mean, I've done all kinds of things for them in that league. And look, there's still things to do there, still things to obtain there, or, in that league, I should say, not in Somerset so much anymore. But it is time in my life maybe to go on and do something different in a new league, in an exciting place, not just a random place that, happens to be available, but some place that I want to be, that wants me also, that can kind of, bring some new excitement, something that I haven't, had a chance to do in a while, maybe, in a new venue. So that's what's really exciting about it. And like I said, I've talked to numerous people about it, and there's not a bad word I hear about it. Even when we're doing the countdown for this, I'm sitting there looking at the stadium. I'm getting a close look at the stadium and stuff like that. I'm like, that looks pretty cool, man. So you get excited about that. I love working with the guys. I'm very passionate about the in-game responsibilities and trying to maneuver around to try to figure out a way to win. So, those are things that are going to be a lot of fun, and just working with all these guys. And I think after talking to pretty much everyone on the team right now, I'm extremely excited to get together with them and just get them going and work, because that's what I do. I work, I go out there and give everything I have and try to make them better. And I'll do everything in my power to make sure we succeed.
Was it weird for you in 2019 with Somerset having all the strange sort of experimental rules and having to deal with that also while trying to balance the independent league nature of playing to win, right? I mean, obviously you want to get guys back to affiliated baseball and ultimately Major League Baseball, but everyone knows in the American Association and the Atlantic League and the Frontier League, it still is all about, especially for guys like you, winning games. So how weird was that in 2019, trying to balance and do all the other stuff that the league wanted you to do versus also doing what you've done pretty much your entire career, and that's play and manage baseball?
That's a great question. I'd go a lot of different routes with that, but you're right. It's not, it's hard enough to put a roster together, keep everybody happy, bust your tail out there on the field, have everybody get along, and try to put a winning, great product out there that gets along and does all that, while guys are trying to get picked up, and they do. We lose a lot of players and stuff, but now you throw a huge wrench into it of all these rules. And I understand, so I don't want to be callous to the fact that the world's changing. We have to adapt and stuff like that, and I get that, and I'm all for that. And I'm for certain speed-up rules. I am for certain experimental rules, and I think some of them were very good that we did. I am not for some of the other ones that we talked about, and I won't mention on this air, but we talked about and did not implement. And there was some that I was fighting against and some that I was very much on board with. And then the whole time, it's when do you implement these rules? Do we have a chance to tell all these players that we're signing, hey, this is what you're getting yourself into. It's going to be great. We're going to be on the groundwork of this, but this is what you need to expect. Or do I already sign you? If I sign you, Michael, and say, hey, you're going to come pitch for us, and then a month later say, oh, by the way, you're pitching for us and you're going to pitch 2 feet further back. Now that's now all of a sudden you have to decide, well, wait a minute, do I want to be a part of this? So there's a way to do it. We are very innovative, or they were very innovative in the Atlantic League, and I enjoyed a lot of the rules we did participate in and the speed-up rules. And I think, you're seeing it being implemented in minor and major leagues in certain fashions, and I think those rules are fine. Now, how far and to what extent will some of these other rules that seem kind of crazy, how far will they go? I don't know. I don't mind adding some more strategy to the game, adding some more speed to the tempo of the game, adding more safety to the game. But I'm not much on board of, like the mound moving back. I'm not a huge fan of that one. And they tried to do that in our league a few years back, but we weren't real excited about that rule. But it is tough to get back to your point. Let's focus on winning, playing the game you love to the highest caliber you possibly can, while trying to get picked up to and keeping everybody happy. But then when you're having to deal with some different distractions or whatever, or maybe a pitcher does have to deal with a mound being farther back, or a guy stealing first base on you, on a 0-1 count or something. So there's a lot of, and then you couldn't pick off maybe. And so there's a lot of different factors. Like I said, that's a whole, and we could talk for days about all these rules and stuff and all the mentality, different changes you have to go through psychologically to deal with those. But I had many meetings with individuals and the team and the league. And again, I get it and I understand certain things, but it did add a new variable into the mix, and that variable is huge, and it was tough to deal with at times.
Well, now moving forward to 2021 with the Saltdogs, the American Association, you had mentioned you've already gotten a chance to talk with a lot of the guys on the roster. It's a little bit different for you this time around because let's say that they hired you in September or October, right? And you would have a full off season to put together a roster. And so now you inherit more of a roster than you normally would. Is that going to be difficult for you, or have you already kind of figured out exactly how you want to put the pieces together? And does it really matter for a manager to inherit players versus kind of piece together your roster like you might have if you were in Somerset entering 2021 or anywhere else?
Well, yeah, you adapt the best you can. That's what I have to do now is adapt. But so I'll make the best of it. I'm not going to sit there and complain about it and be like, oh, this I don't like what I got here and all this stuff. But yes, I've always had the ability and the authority to put together the roster the way I like it. At the beginning, I did it all myself pretty much. And then as we moved forward, I hired an assistant that did a great job with me that helped in constructing the roster. But we would always talk about all those things. We'd figure out what style of player we want to go after. Do we want more of a speed team, a power team? I know what I like to get, and there are some good pieces on this roster right now. But it's nice to have a roster in place, but it's also I want to put my touches on it too to kind of solidify it. And it's tough when you're maybe out of roster spots or out of money or different things like that. So it is creating just some more unique challenges that are different. For the the league that I'm trying to get used to in the American Association is totally different than the Atlantic League. And B, I've never had a roster pretty much put together. But I think I've added one piece, so far, and I think I'm going to continue to add a few more and just see what we can do, because we need a little bit of competition in camp. You also have the COVID things going around out there that, you don't know how that's going to affect things. So there's a lot of variables. What I've learned throughout my years of baseball, you have to adapt. You can't get too uptight about things. You got to go with the best you have. And if you can make an adjustment along the way, you do that. I always say the strongest your roster is going to be is usually at the beginning of the season. And I do feel like we need to add a couple pieces to kind of solidify that and get it to where I would like it. But then the other side of that is, what is a good roster for the American Association? I know what a good roster in the Atlantic League is. I know what a good roster for the New York Yankees is, stuff like that. But I don't know what, you can't just go out there and get 25 of the best players you can find. You can, but they have to be within those classifications and age brackets and different things like that. So again, that's a unique challenge. But I think what we do have so far with the guys I'm talking to, we have a great group of clubhouse guys that are really excited about playing ball. Can't wait to get out there. They're going to get along great, and they're going to be great role models in the community. And that's something that we're kind of stressing. And I think that's what you guys are about anyway. That's what I've always been about myself. It's not just about a guy that goes out there and can hit a home run, but how do you treat that kid that wants to autograph? Or if you go out to dinner and somebody says, "Oh, I recognize you from playing, with the Saltdogs. Do you have a few minutes to talk to them?" and stuff like that. So that's what it's about. And I think we have those guys. So that's huge. And I wouldn't expect anything less from Frizz, that he's going to put those, those type of players on this team.
Yeah.
And that's what he did. He's a great human being. I know him well too. And so me and him think a lot alike. So a lot of these guys he did sign, I see why he signed them, if that makes sense. And I like that. So I just want to make a few little tweaks here and there, and we'll roll with what we have.
So your record in Somerset spoke for itself. You made the playoffs 6 consecutive years. You won a championship in 2015, and you did not have a losing season. When you want to describe Brett Jodie, the manager, and Brett Jodie teams, what would you say? How would you describe yourself, and what can fans expect to see from the Saltdogs at Market Park this summer?
I think it's going to be something they're proud of. It's just, they're going to come out to the park and be able to, if your father or husband and wife are sitting there with their kids, they're going to be able to look at their kids and say, "Hey, watch how number 33 plays over there. He's really getting after it." And they're going to be able to say that about everyone. They're going to see good attitude, smiling faces, not whining about things or pouting about things. Sure, every now and then you get upset and things like that, but just really just the total package. That's what I try to create, is that total package athlete. Now obviously that encompasses a lot, and I'm not going to get into all that, but it's more than just hitting a home run out of the ballpark and trotting around the bases. It's so much more than that. And that's what I'm trying to create. Guys that are going to be great in Lincoln and great beyond that, and look back on that year or years they're in Lincoln or with us or with me or with the whole organization and say, "Man, I really learned a lot there, and there's some lasting impact there, lasting values that we learned and stuff like that." So that's what I'm about. It's way deeper than just wins and losses. Don't get me wrong. I want to win. And the team, I'll tell them, give me attitude and effort. That's all I expect. If you give me that every day, I can live with that. All right. If it's not good enough, then obviously we might have to make some changes as we go, but we're going to hold on to a guy a little bit longer if he is giving everything he has, because you can live with that. And sometimes it doesn't work out. We've been on that. I won a championship as a manager in Somerset, and I feel like we should have won 6 or 7. That's just how I feel. It just doesn't work like that all the time. You got to be in the right place at the right time sometimes, and everything's got to kind of fit together. But these guys, and I found out that when Somerset, when the job went, to the Yankees, or the Yankees took over there. I'm sorry. So many texts and calls from former players and coaches and scouts and agents and just everybody, and it's like, man, you realize you're doing things the right way, because you want to make sure you're having a lasting impact. Doing things the right way, handling yourself the right way, and having a great impact on these young individuals. And that's what we're trying to do here. So just the total package, trying to create the total package as a team, as individuals, as a staff, as an organization. That's what I'm about. And I'm extremely passionate about it. I am. You'll watch me during a game, and I seem very laid back. I don't get too uptight, and I let the umpire hear things when they need to hear it, and things like that. And I let the players hear things too. But I'm not big on showing up umpires or players or other coaches. I will talk to them, but I'll do it in a way where, calmer heads prevail, and we'll shoot, do it in a learning environment where we won't do it, as a reaction to something maybe that angers someone or something like that. So I'm very big on that. Even if you see a boneheaded play out there, I'm not going to show up that player. I'll be fuming inside, but I kind of keep it in, and then we'll adjust and coach that up and try to get it better. But that's how I am.
Well, we got a few minutes left. Want to take a quick chance to remind everyone that we do have 30% off the Saltdogs Echelon Tee in the shop at shop.saltdogs.com. That is today only. It is another special for Saltdogs Live here as we continue our discussion with new skipper Brett Jodie. And if we got a couple of questions from fans out there, I'm sure Adam behind the scenes can go ahead and display those, and you guys can ask, and we'll start with Jeremy. And we did kind of touch on this a little bit earlier, but again, just really quickly, maybe a better way to ask this would be, or at least a way to rephrase what you said earlier. You had the Atlantic League with the experimental, moving the mound back and being able to take off or like steal first base is what they called it, all kinds of stuff like that. Do you feel kind of relieved though that you're going to be able to get back into more of a traditional role with the game of baseball, where it's not so much experimenting with what you had to deal with from Major League Baseball, and it's back to the American Association, where again, as Jeremy, who is the world famous scorekeeper at Haymarket Park, as he touches on what we're going to see in the American Association this year.
So yes and no is my answer to that. Obviously, I've always been comfortable with traditional rules. That's what I grew up with. That's what I'm comfortable with. That's what I know. But I've also been through a range of emotions with the new rules in the Atlantic League, and I was very much, I would say, kind of against it at the beginning. But then you start learning, like, okay, I need to adapt. I want to grow as a person, as a manager, as a coach, as a leader, whatever. And I think our league in the Atlantic League was on the groundwork and helped in the process of kind of getting some good data for the rules that are being implemented now. Now, I do think some of them will never be implemented, and those are the ones that I do not like. But any rule that helps speed up the game, because nobody wants to be out there watching a game, whether you're a coach, player, playing behind somebody, pitching that takes 30 seconds to throw a pitch. Nobody wants to see that. So things like that are speeding up the game, I like that. I was talking to Charlie actually a week or so ago, and he mentioned the extra inning rule. I think y'all did it in the league maybe a year or two ago or something. And now it's not implemented, I guess. And now they're doing it in the big leagues, and the international tiebreaker rule in the 10th inning, placing a runner at second base. I was against that in the Atlantic League at first, and I said, let's wait until maybe the 12th and do it then. So you play some, real baseball for the next 2 innings, and then you go into it. But then you start thinking about even our rosters in American Association and Atlantic League or independent baseball period. You can't just go find another player the next day or call someone up or whatever. So if you're lighting your bullpen and you have to go 15, 16 innings one day, and let's say that's the last game of the series. So if we're playing Sioux City, let's say, and that affects us in Sioux City for the next while, versus we're going to play a new team the next day, we're still very much hurting in our pitching staff. And that new team we're playing is probably okay because they just played a 9-inning game. We just played 16. So it really affects you in different ways like that. So I actually, and the international tiebreaker rule allows for way more excitement, I feel like, in the 10th inning. Now, can you hit a home run in the 10th or 11th or something like that with nobody on and win the game? Yes, you can do that. But a lot of times, if you get past that 10th, 11th, 12th, it just kind of drifts on into the night sometimes. And, so nobody wants to be out there forever. But so I was against it at first, but now I kind of like the extra inning rule. So again, it's selective for me. Overall, I love traditional rules. I'm happy we have traditional rules. I'm excited about that. But I also like being on the groundwork of some things that are actually being implemented in the major leagues and minor leagues. And so some of the other rules, bigger bases, maybe you don't have to throw 4 pitches for the intentional walk, things like that, I actually am kind of a fan of now. Even though we have won a game and lost a game with an intentional walk in the past 10 years or whatever, where, a bad pitch was thrown or something like that. So But overall, it doesn't really affect the game much. It kind of speeds it up a little bit. Hey, put him on first and let's go. So, again, I like to be on the groundwork of some things. But overall, if you're changing the game in a drastic fashion, I'd much rather play traditional rules. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, and I got a couple more for you. Going back to your time with Somerset, you'd mentioned, of course, 7 years as a manager there, highly successful, but a much longer career with Somerset than just your managerial career. How much did you learn transitioning from a player to just being on the coaching staff to then becoming the manager? And how much different is Brett Jodie now than he was when he took over the Patriots back in 8 years ago?
Yeah, I think you're constantly learning. When I was a player, I kind of stayed in my lane and did my deal. As a pitcher, I just kind of took care of my things, and I would always take some other pitchers under my wing kind of and work with them. And I always enjoyed talking the game too, but I never really got in the way of like whatever manager, what decision he made or moves he made. I never looked at a lineup and says, why is this guy playing or what's going on? I never tried to think through that. I just stayed, like I said, in my lane, did my thing, control what I could control. And I think that's a good thing to have. And I guess the other reason I did that is I never thought about coaching. I was playing, focused on that, and that's what I did. And then Sparky Lyle was the manager in Somerset. I was coming back from my second shoulder surgery, so I wasn't quite right. And then he called me in the off season, whatever year that was, 06 off season, I guess, or something, leading up to the 06 season, and offered me the pitching coach job. And I took that with the understanding that if my arm started to feel better and I was throwing BP or throwing bullpens and felt good, he would activate me and let me pitch. So that was kind of the deal. But he didn't tell me I'd be throwing BP every day, and my arm would never feel good again because I'm throwing every day out there against these hitters, and stuff. So it was kind of a joke, but I'd still throw a bullpen every now and then. And a lot of pitchers would be like, "Man, you got to pitch again. You got to go. You got to do it." And I just never did. I started to enjoy the coaching side of things. It's rewarding in a different type of way, right? So I enjoyed that aspect of it. And then once you start signing players and everything, you really don't have time for yourself at all. So I did that, and then worked into the managerial position. And I think we're constantly adapting and growing and learning. So yes, I'm sure I've changed. I've never really reflected that much on what I'm doing different now, as compared to what I used to do. But I think we get a little smarter. We get through some different circumstances, whether they're good or bad. You're constantly learning from that. So I think I always want to grow and learn and try to pick up things from other managers. I know there's a ton of great managers in our league now. I know a lot of them, and some of them I've just talked to on the phone for years, and some of them I've actually met in person. So I'm really looking forward to that also. But I try to pick up from everybody, players, coaches, man. It doesn't matter who it is. I try to pick up things and just hopefully just keep growing and getting better and better.
Last question for you, unless we have one more that goes on the Facebook Live chat. But you'd mentioned you'd changed a lot since you stopped playing, coached, then managed. But how much of what you incorporate in your message, and obviously trying to get guys back to affiliated minor league baseball and maybe one day Major League Baseball, how much do you draw from the fact that you were a former Major League pitcher? You're one of the few people who can say you played in Major League Baseball, and you were a very high draft pick back in the late 90s. How much of that Brett Jodie is still alive in the new Saltdogs skipper here today?
Yeah, I think all of that. I think you take all your experiences, right? And I've been very fortunate to have some great experiences. I've also had some lows, some highs, and everything in between. The game didn't come easy for me. I had to work at a lot of things. I've written down so many things about routines or what works or certain lifting or running or eating. You can go crazy with this. And I have things written down, like I said, all over the place about what works and what doesn't work. But yeah, I forget exactly what you're asking. One of these questions came up and I started to read it as Preston Zach. Okay.
Yeah, he's looking forward to watching baseball soon. Hey, aren't we all? I mean,
we all are, right?
Yeah. But pretty much, I mean, we can go on with this one as well. Matt Honerman checks in. Being through 2 shoulder surgeries yourself, has that affected your relationship with athletic trainers and team doctors with teams you've managed and coached? And of course, for context, Mr. Honerman, one of the former trainers for the Saltdogs himself. So all that we had talked about with your history in Major League Baseball and minor league
Yeah.
baseball as well. How has your career dealing with injuries, which players almost every single one has to deal with at some point? How does that affect
Yeah.
your relationship with those around you?
So this even, this will get me back on track, I guess. So all
Mm-hmm.
my experiences, whether it's surgeries or whatever, can help you relate to guys in different capacities, right? Whether, like, again, whether you've had success or failure or surgery or anything. Okay, I feel like I'm well versed and very experienced with that. Now, it's not all about me at all. I don't go to a guy and be like, hey, back in 2002 when I went through this is what happened. Now I'll just talk to them about their situation. It's about them now, so we just talk about that. But I can pull back on certain past experiences or thoughts or things that came up that really helped me in those situations. I'm also a psychology major, so I enjoy talking the game. I enjoy talking about life. I enjoy getting way deeper than just talking about, how to throw a strike or something like that. But I also do it in a way that keeps it very simple. And then you got to adapt to how that guy is. Is that guy very cerebral that you're talking to and really wants to hear more? Or is he very much a simple thinker that you want to keep this game very easy? And I can relate to all of those, and I enjoy all those. And I, as far as team doctors and trainers, since high school days, I've always spent a lot of time in the training room, not necessarily because I was hurt all the time, but because I enjoyed being in there. I respected their profession. I loved how to learn how to tape an ankle and learn different things about how to rehab shoulders or elbows or knees or whatever the case may be. So I love being in that aspect of things. I take pride in those type of things. So again, back to strengthening things or preventative maintenance that a trainer or a doctor will help you with. I think those are huge things to learn and educate yourself on. And I think the more you can do that and the more you can associate with those people, you can really create that, what we talked about before, the total package to maybe keep a guy from getting hurt, or not even getting hurt, but maybe you get him better and get him stronger so he can last. They have the durability during a season and maybe even grow, or in the 7th, 8th, 9th inning, if he's a starter, he's getting stronger. And how does that happen? It's what you eat. It's what the work you're doing in between starts, the working on the little muscles, the working on the big muscles. There's so many things. There's so many factors that affect that. And I've been there and done that, right? I've seen what's worked. I've seen what's not worked. And now, is everything that I do going to work for somebody else? No. But some of it might, and some of it might not. And some of it I might keep them from making a mistake because I did it. So there's a lot of those things that can go around. And again, I always say I give guys the ability to choose to listen to what I say to or not. They can take it in or they can not. But I'm going to give them that information. What they do with it is up to them. I'm not going to make them do certain things, but I'm going to arm them as much as I possibly can with what I have and what our coaching staff provides and what the Lincoln Saltdogs will provide as an organization. We're going to give them every tool and resource they can possibly have, hopefully, that we're able to give. And then it's up to them to put it to use or to ask more questions about it or choose to implement it or not, right? So that's what we're here for, and that's what's exciting.
Well, Brett, I know we've had a couple of more comments come through that have spoken about, or at least people who knew you. Lawrence says he's a player's manager. We loved him in Somerset. We, on our end, operate the social media channels as well. And the amount of messages we got the day that you were hired from people who have known you was really cool to see. So I think, as Walter says, treating players like a person, just like you, person's player's manager. That's so refreshing. So I think a lot of people are really excited for it. And again, a big thanks for joining us here. And we'll hear more and more from you as the season gets closer. And hard to believe we're less than a month away, but baseball's right around the corner.
Finally, right? Finally,
after a year without it, from our perspective. So that's really refreshing. But again, thanks, Brett, and thanks everyone for joining us here on Saltdogs Live today. One last reminder, we do have 30% off the Saltdogs Echelon Tee at shop.saltdogs.com. Take advantage of that today only as a special here on Saltdogs Live. We'll have more of these in the coming weeks. And, of course, we've got baseball in the coming weeks as well. Another big thanks to Brett for joining us. Brett, we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Look forward to it.
And a big thanks, too, for Adam behind the scenes. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Stay tuned on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We've got all kinds of information coming up as opening day is just less than a month away. My name is Michael Dixon, saying see you guys next time.